The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Wednesday in the Riff.
Yes, it is. And
again, it's time for the Captain Commander of the Open Seas report.
Well, before I do that, I have to say happy birthday to my mother. She turned 73 today. So happy birthday, Mom. We love you. So if I didn't do that, I'd be in trouble.
Well, like a good son, and well, I also happy birthday.
Yeah. So the Captain COVID numbers for the day are 111,033 cases total for Massachusetts, 438 new cases, 8,436 deaths with an increase of 9 deaths, and 9,224 cases for Bristol County. Now, Fall River is another story. Fall River had 1,818 cases of COVID-19 and 19 case increase. 19 case increase. That's a lot of people. So I guess the numbers are coming in pretty rapidly. And I think that those increases maybe because we're doing more testing, but still, we haven't seen 19 in a long time.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, there's been tremendous, and I think partially, obviously more testing. We're going to find out more people who are infected, especially younger people who don't even know that they have COVID and
Correct.
Run around and because they had very minimal, if any, symptoms. And of course, then we've got the people, because I don't know if you saw the video, but I saw a video. I only caught a piece of it, so I don't know the full details of it. But it was some NFL player who was hosting a party at his mansion, and there must have been a couple of hundred people there, just partying and no social distancing, no masks, and so we it's amazing because no matter how bad it gets, we still have people with this blasé attitude that, hey, look, I'm not worried about it, and I don't care what happens to the rest of the population. It's unfortunate.
Well, it's unfortunate, especially because here in Massachusetts, we're seeing parties like that out on the Cape because it's the summer, and a lot of those, Cape dwellers in the summer, because they're only there in the summer, don't want to not have their parties, their cookouts, and everything else. So there is a problem. But the governor yesterday included the state of Rhode Island in high COVID areas. So now, if they come in from the state of Rhode Island, they have to quarantine for 14 days unless they can present a test result within 72 hours showing that they're negative. It's going to be kind of interesting. And no, people, it does not apply to people who are going grocery shopping. If they're going grocery shopping from Tiverton, it doesn't apply, which made absolutely no sense to me because they could still be bringing COVID in if they're going grocery shopping.
Well, that's true. But then again, why does it make any sense that they open up massage parlors but people can't go into churches? They're limiting. So look, none of this stuff makes any sense because it seems to be a totally indiscriminate way of doing things. It seems that certain businesses are open, even though it doesn't make any sense. I'm still wondering why the gyms are open, which I'm really happy about. But I'm still wondering why they tell you to wash your hands, and obviously you should. You should wash your hands anyway, especially periodically before you touch something. But wash your hands for 20 seconds and do it properly and scrub it and stuff. Yet you can't take a shower in a gym. So you can wash your hands, and that's actually a deterrent to the disease, but you can't wash your body. So I don't know. And then they say, well, I don't know, maybe the shower will get contaminated and it has to be redone. But they don't tell you have to decontaminate your sink every time you wash it. And you can use the sinks in the gym. And maybe I should have said that because Charlie will probably outlaw using the sinks now. But so a lot of this stuff makes, and that's why people are so upset. People are really, really upset because, some of this stuff just seems to make absolutely no sense. And there are people who are really, really upset over the fact that that there's limitations, that don't seem to apply to churches. People want to go to church. There are a lot of people who want to go to church. Yet you can have 500 people or 800 people in a Walmart as long as they're distanced, even then, if they are distanced. But you can't go into a house of worship. So a lot of this stuff is really upsetting the public. So, and justifiably so, in my opinion.
I agree. And, the thing is that the governor also, if people missed it, made a statement which is going to disrupt business again, because he's saying we may need to roll back to phase 2, which means the gyms will close.
Oh, don't even.
But he's talking about rolling back to phase 2 because the increases are too high. So it's definitely going to be interesting to watch how this pans out.
Yeah, because the government has overreached so much during this pandemic. They've taken away all our rights. He's going to do this, but I don't know. We're going to have to do the numbers, and I guess you've got the numbers, but we're seeing a lot more cases being diagnosed. Are we seeing a lot more deaths? Is it proportionate? No. I think we're seeing a lot of cases being identified because they're testing a lot. But the thing is, they are beginning to really be able to treat this stuff. Most people are surviving. Initially, when they put people in nursing homes that were infected, they know what segment of the population is at the greatest risk. And this overreach, these fascists that are in some of these states that want to just take away all your rights under the guise of we don't know what's good for us. Well, if you're like I said, if you're a nitwit that wants to go to a party with 300 people, don't complain when you get the COVID. And the reality is that we're going to go back to phase 2 because they're diagnosing more cases. Well, is the increase in the deaths proportionate to the increase in identifying cases? I don't think so. From what I've been told, most of the places are having far less deaths. And, it's just nuts because they use every excuse. It's almost like, and, Charlie Baker may be a Republican, but he's a rhino. He's a Republican in name only. The reality is he's tall of all. That's all he is.
That's it. Well, interestingly enough, because you brought up the death rates, on point with the number of new cases. Around here, they're not. But in other states, they are. In other states, their hospitalization numbers are high with the increased number of cases. California, Texas, Florida, they're already complaining that their ICU beds are full. We didn't have that problem. I'm hoping we don't have it now. But again, if people aren't going to be considerate, I myself on Sunday, I think I mentioned this Monday, I myself on Sunday saw about 60 to 70 people over at Pulaski Park, no masks, playing basketball, playing other sports, all there, congregating. It looked like a huge party. And there was about 6, maybe 10 kids who were on the splash pad away from that huge group, which I'm glad they were away from that huge group. But even then, you're talking about 6 or 10 kids with their parents, maybe not wearing masks. I know none of them were wearing masks over in the sports area. So this is what happens. So is the mayor going to look at this and say, well, if these people can't do things properly, then maybe we have to close down the basketball courts again. Maybe we have to close down the parks. Maybe we have to close down the splash pads. Those are all options that the mayor has and the park board has. So people need to realize you've got to do this right, or else you'll lose what you've got.
Yeah, but you got to remember, CJ, you look at the stats. It's, I had a conversation in a meeting yesterday. You can't look at the tree, you got to look at the forest. Now, these hospitalizations in some of these states, these are states where they had it's problematic with large gatherings. They're having the hospitalizations. It's also getting into what group are we seeing hospitalizations of the younger people, and then it's really problematic. People with comorbidities and stuff like that, they shouldn't be exposing themselves, as you said. But look, people are just, they don't care. And that's the problem. But the rest of us who actually, like, when they go to the gym, they maintain social distance. They do what they're supposed to do. When I go out, I maintain social distance. I wash my hands. And so now we have to be victimized by a fascist government, because it's almost like politically the blue states want to keep this going just for political reasons. And I truly believe that may be one of the underlying factors, that they really want this economy to tank, because that was going to be the primary thing about the election. We all know that Trump was going to run on what he's done for the economy, so we'll destroy the economy. And this is ridiculous. I mean, you look at this stuff and it's beyond. I mean, people are beginning to organize against this. I went to a meeting the other night of people, of like-minded people from different segments of the population. Some were upset because they couldn't go to their church. Some were upset because of what's happening with the Second Amendment. Some were with what's doing with the business closings. But people are beginning to get ready to rebel in all of these states. There have been demonstrations in all these states because, look, you can't legislate morality and you can't legislate people, as you said. You saw that? Well, in my neighborhood a couple of weeks ago, there was a giant party, music, DJ, everything. I don't know how many people were at that party, but until fairly late in the evening. And then on the street behind me, to the south, there were, in the last month, there have been 2 giant get-togethers in the backyard. So who knows what they were, graduations or whatever. But we're talking 30, 40, 50 people, and music or whatever. And well, you go out into the community. That's why social distancing is important. So
well, what's interesting is that the mayor threw a party himself. Like it or not, Mr. Mayor, you threw a party. You had the people at the drive-in. That was a party. And he wants to throw another one somewhere towards the end of the month. Now, with the increase in numbers, would that be a smart move? He's doing it because he wants to, work on the morale, boost the morale of the city residents. But you're not boosting the morale of the city residents because not everyone can go to these drive-ins that you have. You're boosting the morale of a small group of people who probably don't care. All right. And another big question is, and it's come numerous times across our comment sections, people want to know where that $5 is going. We know that the mayor said that it's going to go to a nonprofit. What nonprofit? How much was raised and what nonprofit is getting the money? Because nobody's answering those questions. Nobody. And that is not correct. That's not right. If it's going to a nonprofit, people have the right to not even pay it. Because if they don't want to support that nonprofit, they shouldn't have to. Because that's forced. And that's wrong. So,
Well, you're right, but then again, it's always follow the money. Like I've been asking questions for years. What happened to all the money we saved over the course of the years in healthcare? It's gone. Is there any movement to tighten our belt? It seems that all they're doing is looking at how to raise more money, how to take away things from people, how to increase taxes and then bring in overrides. And look, on the state level or local level, that's all they think about. And on the federal level, they just don't give a damn. I mean, the reality is, look, it's an election year. The Dems don't care how much money they spend. You know, $3 trillion, another $3 trillion. Who cares? That's only what 1,000. It was over 1,100 years in seconds. A trillion versus like 11 years for a million. So yeah, if you want to try to get a grasp on how much a trillion is, it's over 1,000 years. If you took a trillion seconds, just 1 trillion, you're talking 3 trillion. So you're looking at nearly over 3,000 years. Over 3,000 years if you paid it $1. You know,
maybe it's time the federal government have a balanced budget.
Well, they're going to destroy our economy. I mean, you know, you can just print. You're going to print money to the point where it's going to collapse. The money, you know, the money's going to collapse like it did in other countries. As a matter of fact, I was watching today that the economy in Lebanon's collapsing, and the COVID in Lebanon has tripled in the last month. Tripled. You know, people are. You know, it's. You know, it's going to be it's in its mass hysteria because we've got too much information. None of it is, you know, has enough data to support it 100%. We got, you know, a million different medical opinions, and to me, the only thing that we do know is if you kind of stay away from most people and wash your hands and kind of become a misanthrope and don't deal with a lot of people, that's your best shot. Because apparently, you know, the other people in this population don't care. They're going to go to the parties and spread it around. So when you go to the market, I saw somebody in a market with gloves, masks. The only thing they didn't have was a Class A exposure suit. It was like, well, hey, look, I guess they were really concerned. They're not only going to wear a mask, they're going to put gloves on and for everything they touch in the market. Then when I assume when they left, you know, they threw the gloves away. They were
hopefully they threw them away in a barrel and not on the street.
Probably on the street, but who cares? But look, it's a massive problem, but it's more than just I mean, obviously, the public health is the biggest problem, but the reality is this is a tremendous problem for the future of our country. We are fundamentally destroying our economy. These politicians are destroying the nation. We cannot afford to give everything to everybody for nothing because it's an election year, and then figure out how we're going to pay the bill with money that's worthless. Because, you know, that's the problem with the federal government. We're not on a gold standard anymore. You know, they print money, and that money will become worthless. Remember when after World War II, when the German mark and the Japanese yen were worthless? They were worthless.
And we boasted their economies.
That's right, and look, and that's what's going to happen to us. Our economy is just going to collapse with all this spending. But hey, it is what it is.
Yep. Hey, guess what? The mayor's got a budget. The mayor has a budget. He's proposing a budget of $280 million, up about 3% from the 2020 budget.
Not even a level funded budget, huh?
Which is the 2020 budget was $271 million. So it's only up about 3%. Sahadi said the increase accounts in part for the 2.5% increase allowed by state law and the additional $6 million to the school department.
Well, as usual, the city is taking advantage of every single dime they can squeeze. Rather than have a level funded budget in the face of adversity, rather than look at tightening our belt, rather than looking at streamlining government, they're going to take the maximum they can and still raise your taxes because they can never stop spending money. Milton, I speak to you from speaking from the grave. If you give them the Sahara Desert, they will run out of sand in 5 years. So our CFO slash whatever is saying that they're going to take every single dime they can, and then they're going to go back and take money away from everybody who works for the city, and they're going to take away money from the taxpayers, and they're going to say they're doing their best. Well, I believe the city council asked for a level funded budget, didn't they?
They asked for a budget. They wanted to level fund it for the 2020, based on the 2020 budget. So yes. Now here's the kicker. You're gonna like this comment. Okay. Mary Sahadi declined to offer more details on the new proposed budget, citing the need to get it in the hands of the city council first and working on fine-tuning the document. I'm going through it now, said Sahadi on Monday. Coogan said his finance team are expected to meet with the city council president Cliff Ponte on Tuesday afternoon to go over the proposed budget. Coogan said that over the past few days, he's been on the phone with the state delegation and spoke with U.S. Congressman Bill Keating to discuss the federal government's loosening up of the qualifications to spend the first round of COVID-19 related funding, of which the city received $7 million. Congress and the Senate are currently wrangling for another round of CARES Act funding. I don't want the money to get tied up with that next bill. My concerns is that they lump it together, which then they could drag it out for a few months. In other words, I want to use this CARES Act money for what I want to use it for. So take it back to Congress and get them to change the wording so I can spend it where I want to spend it.
Yeah, so let the government again subsidize the cities and states that had no fiduciary responsibility, that just spent and spent and spent, never tightened their belt, still are not tightening their belt because they're looking for a 3% increase. And I didn't see a level funded budget. I didn't see a moratorium on the automatic cost of living raises. I haven't seen any moratoriums on pay raises. I haven't seen anything that remotely results. I haven't seen any streamlining of government. There's no reorganization of government to eliminate all these pork barrel jobs that we've created over the last 20 years. As we keep saying, a mayor ran this city with a larger population, a larger fire department, police department, DPW. Every department in the city of Fall River was substantially larger than it is today. And they ran it without a chief of staff, without a special assistant, without a city administrator, and without a CFO. And amazingly enough, most of the years you didn't get a tax increase. And we had a surplus of money. Why? Because in those days, the people of Fall River, most of whom have left and gone to the burbs, those people would vote out any man who raised taxes every year. They would boot out any city council who raised taxes every year. There were literally standing room only crowds anytime anybody got a pay raise because it was a feat to get any kind of pay raise through the council because they were very, very conscious of spending money and tightening their belt, and it had to be totally justified. But now we've entered a new era. The Goebbels propaganda mill has told everybody that, listen, this is the way it is. We just keep spending money and you keep paying taxes and fees. That's the way it's supposed to be. But that is not the way it's supposed to be. We pay our taxes And it's our government, and we pay our taxes for public safety, for education, for trash pickup, for essential services. We don't pay our taxes for automatic pay raises for all the political hacks and all the political jobs that have been created. Deans of students in the school department. Deans of students. Isn't it ironic that probably the dean of students in the school department and the superintendent of schools and virtually everybody in authority in the school department never saw a dean of students in their life until they got to college? Now we have deans of students in middle schools. It is absolutely, and then you wonder, where is the revolution? What's happened is, what do we got for a demographic? They move in the people into the housing authority. They move junkies in with stock. And now most of the people that used to vote these people out are now in Somerset, Swansea, Westport, Dartmouth, or Texas. So,
somewhere other than Fall River.
Somewhere other than Fall River. They're anywhere but. And this is the problem. The problem is they never stop spending. You notice every single time they go in front of the council, they figure out where they're going to get money. Where they're going to get money. Not how they're going to save money. Not how they're going to make the city more efficient, more streamlined. Our government is not here to be an employment agency. Our government is here to provide the taxpayer with the essential services that we need. That's what they're here for. But it's evolved, or devolved actually, into a patronage mill and has for a long time. So, I mean, 3%, we've taken the max. And as Mary Zahadi said, we always take the max in the 2.5. And we try to override it. Because the more money you give them, the more money they want. They're like an insatiable junkie. They can't get enough.
And the more they will spend.
The more they will spend. So it's time for us to rise up, people. There are organizations that are going to be rising up to do this. I know that there was a meeting, because I attended it, of like-minded people who were tired of this government, and we're going to have to drain the swamp.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens next Tuesday at the city council meeting with the budget. I know there's one line item that I want to see cut from the budget, and that's the police department overtime that covers the Great Feast of the Holy Ghost. Because guess what? They are not having the Great Feast this year, so that overtime line item isn't necessary in the budget. So you can cut it, because that money can go somewhere else. So that should be cut from the budget if it hasn't already. Mr. Mayor, listen to that. Okay, I know you said you're not going to defund the police department. That's not defunding the police department. That's defunding the Great Feast of the Holy Ghost. That's all that is. And we need to
never been there in the first place.
That's right. It should have never been there in the first place. Make them pay their own way, just like I have to, just like Chip has to, just like everyone else has to, because that's the way it's supposed to be. It's kind of tough. Well, it looks like we're running out of time here.
We got about a minute. So people before politics. People before politics. Remember that. Streamline government. Join the revolt.
That's it. The 2020 revolt. Revolution, people. Revolution.
That's
hey,
right.
Everyone. Thanks for watching. It's great to be in your home with you. And please remember, stay angry and stay safe.
And stay healthy. Stay away from most people that this